Well, this old 1900s seed drill was actually designed to be horse-driven, which is why a lot of Amish use this still to this day, because most of everything they do is horse-driven. Now, it took some time to actually figure out who the manufacturer was and what year this was probably manufactured. But with good old new tech combined to figure out old tech, I used AI, gave it a few different defining features here, and I actually at that point found some markings on here which gave it some really good indicating factors to tell us how old this thing was, who the manufacturer was, and how it can actually tell you more about it. And that is based off of this right here. We see ACRES, Acres, and Acres was the manufacturer of this unit, and it manufactured these units before the 1930s. And it was on this side of the unit that the tongue that connects to the horses was actually connected to. And when I got this, I got it from a neighbor, and the neighbor could have picked up the original tongue that hooked up to the horses, but he left it thinking that he would never use it. He actually bought it just for these wheels because he wanted to use these wheels for chandeliers, but he knew I really was into this kind of stuff and I needed a seed drill. So he sold it to me for 150 bucks. I think it was a great deal. Now I really want to show you how this works because it's a very interesting piece of not only history, but also machinery, and machinery that we don't see all that often anymore, since everything connected to a tractor is PTO operated. That's a spinning part on the back of a tractor that operates a lot of the machinery, or everything is hydraulic. So like, this is pretty cool, and the fact that it still works is even better. Now let me flip this thing around. I'll give you a little bit of history about it, and I'm going to show you how it works and things that I actually need to fix and upgrade with it. Oh, and before I get into telling you a little bit more about it, I'm not going to make it so that horses cannot use this. I'm going to make it so that it can be used both by tractor and still have the option to have it horse-driven for the future, because I think for a future video, if I could ever do this, probably not, but it's an idea that could be cool, is to try to get actually a horse to use this thing. But don't hold me to that because, you know, I don't know if I can make that happen. Now this right here is where the original tongue would come straight out pretty far, and you'd have a horse on each side being able to pull this forward. As we're exploring the history through this, it's important to know that it wasn't until 1917 that the first mass production tractor hit the market through Ford. Before that, everything was still massively done through horse-drawn. There were still tractors around that were steam-driven and even gasoline-driven, but it wasn't until 1917 that tractors were mass-produced. And until around the 1930s, people were still using horse-drawn horse-drawn implements to plow their fields, to do a lot of stuff. So even if this came out during the time of tractors, they weren't the widespread thing all around. They were just starting to hit everybody's farms and becoming the new way of doing things and moving away from horses. In fact, a lot of these were even converted soon after buying them, or soon in the next 10 to 20 years, to be actually used with tractors, because, well, everyone was starting to buy them, and this was still a cheaper option and still kind of the main option that people had. And those original DIYers would take their tractor equipment and convert it just like we would today, and just like I'm actually going to do with this thing too. What makes these old things fascinating is that everything is drawn off of these wheels. It is connected right here by this main piece. The wheels have teeth on the inside of them, which connect to a groove, which then spin a bar right on the other side. This bar right here. And you can see there's a lot of different gears and things connected to this bar that all operate different functions. Finding user manuals on these things is kind of few and far between. So bear with me as I go and explain some of this, because I'm assuming most of the functions, and I think I'm correct. There are some things that I don't fully totally know what they would do, especially because they may be broke. And if you know a little bit more about these, and if you can, I don't know, send me some information or let me know in the comments, I'd love to know more about this. And I'll continue to show everybody else these awesome functions. Now we can see from this very first connection, it goes right here. Now this took me some time to figure out exactly how it worked, because this side is a bit broke. And Luckily, I can actually fix it. If I could take this piece off. There. All right, so there's this bar that travels down and actually attaches to this main disc. Now this disc has all these grooves, and this disc attaches to this gear. If we pull this bar, it separates the disc from the gear, and that disengages the rest of the mechanics happening from this. And what's really cool is that this disc will be perpetually spinning because it's connected to the main drive shaft. And if I push in on this piece, it releases tension on the spring and it pushes the disc into that little gear right here. So it's now in and now it's out. So this disc has all these different grooves on it. The grooves are about the same. It's about how far out I can actually move. Well, let me move this real fast. Moving it out. And then I can, this one's kind of seized in. I have to give this one a little bit better job doing it. But I can show you on this side. We have another disc that controls a different place. We're going to come back to here, but I want to show you, you can move that gear up and down. And the further up the gear is along these teeth, the more it has to travel, and it will travel at a different speed than it will have to travel down here closer to the bottom. So we'll move that down here, and that travels at a different speed. So this is, I'm assuming, how it would control the spread or how much seed comes out based off of the spin. So this is kind of like a speed control. Now the really cool thing is once that's engaged, it operates this first box right here. And everything inside that first box, it's actually not currently working. So it's something that I have to fix. And I believe I figured out how that works. Let me show you inside of this box, which is operated by that disc. Now here is the inside of that box. And I believe that there's something missing because right here it is where I think we're missing a part that should have a wing or something, or a disc that would open up this valve and close this valve. Because right now, if I run this, there's nothing stopping the seed right here from just continually running out. That bar and those gears underneath spin this. And you can see there's a groove or a notch or something that goes right here that would spin. I could actually probably manufacture something to put in this place if I figure that out right. We could see on some of these other ones that still have a little bit of piece still stuck in there. There was something that went here that would go around and at a given speed, let the seed out through here. Now this whole system has 3 boxes. The first one we're looking at is right here. Second one is just behind. This one should have a lid on it. My neighbor said he might have it. If not, I'll make one. And the third one is way far in the back. Now this first one that I just showed you can actually also do fertilizer, and that may be what they used in here the last time, because I could still see a little bit of fertilizer. Now once that seed or fertilizer makes its way down this tube, right down there, it goes underneath. Now we're gonna go, let's see if I can show you this way. Right here, this is underneath. So you can't see in here because that's the mechanism where that hole leads to, and it will lead down into this bar. So let's go on to the other side and I'll show you that bar or that tube is right here, same tube. So from this angle, we can see that this is where the main fertilizer or seed would come down, go way down this tube, and then over, down even more, and come out in between these discs. This right here is where everything comes out. Actually, from all 3 of those boxes up here, everything will come through that tube, just from a different spot, and into these discs. And it's these discs that will use its sharp edge here, cut into the ground, make a groove that's just big enough for the fertilizer or the seed to come down and lay down in the ground, just right here. And then it pushes it out of the way so that it can fall in, and then these chains drag behind the back, which would then push the dirt back over. Now, while we're here talking about these discs or the drills on the bottom, that is where this one major thing that I actually have to fix before I use it, and that is this bar thing. Luckily I have it, but this was used by the Amish for a very long time, and the Amish can be pretty hard on things, mainly because they're using them so much. It's not a negative, it's not a knock, it's just they work their things hard because they're using them, and it makes sense. And it looks like they bent this piece and then it broke off. So I'm gonna have to weld it back on right here, and let me show you what it does and what it's for, but it's related to those discs. Now this main bar is connected. Well, it's not connected, but this is the mechanism that when I move, I'm not going to touch it all right now, but I'll move that piece back and forth and it will lock into these notches. And as it's pushing down, it controls the tension on these springs. And with higher tension on these springs, it will mean that you have somewhat of a downwards force pushing into the ground. And if it's pushing into the ground, you can dig deeper. So you kind of control your depth based off of this bar. And while we're down here looking at the bars, we have these other attachments like this right here. And then you can see the chain that would go around this. I don't think that the Amish were using this, and that's why it's pulled off to the side. When we go back to that far end, the back side, you'll see that there's some issues there that need to be fixed, but I don't think I'll ever really use that one either. Now we're gonna go into this main, oh, it's open on this side. We're gonna go into this main seed drill area. This is where all the major seeds are gonna go. Most seeds are gonna fit right inside of here and everything's gonna work. This is the working side that was used within the past 2 years by the Amish. And it actually connects back over here. This is that main disc that we saw earlier. This is the second disc that I used to show you how everything works. That second side is run off of this disc right here. And again, this is how I would move that gear up and down to control the speed of the mechanism up at the top. So we'll work our way back up to this second box to see kind of how it works on the inside, because we can only see so far on the inside. But there's actually a gear on the inside of here that those gears are going to spin, and that's what grabs the seed from right inside of this area, right there. I'll zoom in for you. It'll go spin and grab the seed and bring it down. And controlling how fast it is based off that gear and how fast I'm driving is how fast it will spin, grab the seed, and bring it down into those tubes. There's something I'm not fully convinced on what it does yet, and we have these flipping doors with a number 1 or an I or a 2. I'm assuming it's a 1 because it has a 2 on this side. And that will open a door for one side or for the other. It looks like the Amish have used the number 1 side the most because I can still see some seed residue on the inside of here. So it's inoculant and seed that's inside number 1. I do see some stuff in the number 2s also, but I mostly see it in the number 1 side. And so we get this whole door opening sequence with gears spinning throughout this entire thing. And this is the main cavity that will run most of the seed that I'm going to be using. Now I showed you this chain before, and this chain, like I showed you, connects to this gear, which runs this gear, which would then run this seed operation up here. And that output is something I'm gonna have to fix later on because there is no tubing that brings a tube from here over into this little port right here. That's where it's supposed to go. So that any seed coming out will go into here. Once I get this thing a little bit more operational and connected to a tractor, I'll really be able to see if these things are working, because I can try to put it and engage it and kind of like get the gears moving once I oil, grease everything, and then we'll be able to see more how this functions. But as of now, it seems like it just really needs to be cleaned in every single one of those, and it's probably for a smaller seed. Okay, I can see the gears right here. It's for a much smaller seed. Let me zoom in for you. Now it's a bit hard to tell, especially past my finger, but inside of there it looks like rotating disc, a lot like that secondary or middle seed area that will spin similarly, taking seed out. Now, one of the main reasons why I haven't used it is because of this tongue. I just need to weld something on there so I can get my tractor running it. And then we'll be good to go. But it's been raining for the past month, almost nonstop. Today's the main day that we haven't had any rain. That's why I wanted to show it to you before I did anything else to it. And I can't wait to get it up and running. I'll weld this piece on, and then I'll get it operational. And if you're curious and if you like this video, let me know down in the comments, and I'd love to give you an update on this thing in the future, because I'm definitely going to be fixing it up, getting it more operational, and actually using it here on this farm. But until that day comes, check out another one of the videos which YouTube seems to think that you're going to like the most, and I'll see you guys next time. And again, let me know if you want to see more on this little tractor implement. See you later.